sighing up, no one to love.
Welcome, everybody. Hi, good to see you, Sylvia.
Hello, Yemi. Good to see you.
Hi, Blessing. So, Danka, how are we feeling? Are we good to start? Do you want to wait a bit longer?
I think we can start. Maybe Alexa, we will give you the floor and you will start to sharing presentation.
All right, we start the usual way. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
I forgot about it, sorry.
Don't worry. Welcome, everybody.
Just-
Thank you so much for making the time to be here. This is our weekly United for Ukraine gathering. And I know you are all busy, so I'm sending you love for making the time. We don't control an army, we're just ordinary people. But one of the things we can do is come together, even if it's just to share news, support each other, continue to share ideas for action. That's something we can do. And so we do it religiously, if you like. So thank you so much for being here. As is our tradition, we always start with the Ukrainian national anthem. I'm going to stand, but you can sit if you need to. But we kick off the event after the Ukrainian national anthem. So thank you very much. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. So welcome once again. In terms of the flow, we typically open the floor and everybody has the chance to share what's on your mind, any kind of thoughts, feelings at the start. That's typically how we start. So we will do that. Once that is done, we invite our Ukrainian brothers and sisters to take the floor. And they usually have prepared some things to share with us. So that's we will do again. Once they are done, we will open the floor again. And then we will have a conversation that's free. Anybody can speak, share, ask anything you want. So I'm about to open the floor. I'd ask you to please, as Muihaki has done, use the Zoom app to raise your hand and I will call on you. We have a few minutes for this. As we wait for people to raise their hands, I want to share that, of course, our brothers and sisters continue to die in Ukraine in this war. I feel very sad about this. As you know, I've spoken from the first time we got together that I would love to see the world intervene and enforce the peace. We can't sit on the sidelines and watch the fighting. Things are shifting. So we know now that the Germans have decided to send tanks to Ukraine. The Americans have approved another round of weapons. So things are shifting. But I personally remain very concerned. I'm still very worried. I really don't think we're going to find a solution by fighting. I'd love to see us find the courage to enforce the peace. We have to stop the fighting. Even if the Russians say that by intervening, you will start a war, we cannot be afraid. We cannot sit back and let them continue to kill our Ukrainian brothers and sisters. The world has to find a way to enforce the peace. Right now, the strategy of arming Ukraine is upsetting Russia. And Russia has now started to up the rhetoric by saying that by arming Ukraine, you are actually fighting a proxy war. So what do we do now? Are we going to run scared? Obviously not. It looks like the West is committed to arming Ukraine. That's good, but they can go a step further. They have to intervene. They have to enforce the peace. Just like they are not afraid to arm Ukraine, they shouldn't be afraid to enforce the peace. These are some of my thoughts. The floor is open. I'm going to go to Mihaki first, then Yvonne. Share anything on your mind. How are you feeling? Cherno, I want to see your hand. I'm coming to you. I want to know what's on your mind, please. So Mihaki, you got the microphone. Please, you can say your name, where you're from, and then what's on your mind.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mihaki Njogu from Kenya. I'm sending you lots of love from Kenya. I'm with you, we are with you, and you're in my prayers and deep thoughts. I'd like to say thank you so much for always showing up. And as Yemi usually says, violence and silence, they're all tragic in equal measure. So thank you so much for taking action. I just want to give you hope before we start this weekend. I'll be meeting up with my team. I run an organization in Kenya, and we want to send a beautiful message to people in Ukraine. So Danka and the team, you can tell us, because there's going to be a number here in Kenya, you can tell us if there's anything you'd want us to pass across, and we'll use the platform to do the same. So thank you so much for showing up. Even after the meeting, let's keep the conversation going, especially on social media. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mihaki. Thank you. Everybody, the floor is open. So Yvonne, you go next. You can share what you're thinking, a question you have, how you're feeling. We do this for a few minutes. So Yvonne, you're next, and then Cherny.
All right, my name is Yvonne. I'm in USA. I'm in the car actually, but I'm not who is driving from Chicago to Alabama, kind of, right? Last time I was shocked. I didn't talk. I was angry. I was upset. I thought today there will be a change. But now, instead of change, I mean the situation in Ukraine, I thought today it will be a change when we meet. But now it's kind of getting worse and worse, because instead of providing peace and get a solution how they can come together, now they are providing a weapon, a strong weapon to destroy everyone. And my plan was to say, like, stop, discuss, we are one human, there is one love, we need the better people, we need the better global, no need to shout the blood, everyone has the right to live. So I'm still confused why there is a problem of getting those two presidents at least to discuss, because they have their plans, while our sister and the brothers, they are destroying children, women, hospitals. We are not the benefit.
Thank you so much,
That's my
Yvonne.
concern.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Thank you so much for sharing. Even though you're in transit, thank you for making time to connect. Thank you. Cherno, you got the microphone. What's on your mind? You were telling us about a picture you saw. Please tell us more. Give them your name and where you're connecting from, and then tell us what's on your mind, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Yemi. Cherno, I'm from the Gambia, but currently I'm connecting from Senegal. I traveled here last week. So I saw a picture, yes. The picture really got to me, even though like war is defined by loss, and then we know when there is war, people die and all of that. But then the picture I saw depicted people that died on the, I think someone from Ukraine shared it, and then it really made me to really kind of relate. And then I really believe in this. All humans are from, like, we are one. Like, maybe it's just like we are all kids from someone, from the greatest first humans that were here, and then Adam and Eve. For anyone who might believe in that, and even not, we are like children from the same family, but maybe we just might not, let's say we reside in different countries now, or we claim to be from different nationalities. So seeing Russia like fighting Ukraine, and what you just mentioned, the West trying to or in defense mechanism trying to arm Ukraine, which would make sense, but then would not be peaceful still, would not be achieving the end goal as peace, because it would still prolong the fight. And then whether Russia would die ultimately, or Russians would die and Ukrainians would die in the end, no life should just be lost. That is really my point of view. Even though maybe I do not study international relations, I have a nursing background, but I am really of the opinion no life should be lost because of political hula balloons, political misunderstandings, and whatever the reason. We should find a way. I think the West could have just invested more, instead of sending arms, sending peaceful dialogue, and then trying to help people from in Ukraine to evacuate people, especially around where the Russian forces are. Because when I watch the news, it's so much like I feel like they're my family. I feel like these people, even though we might not be related by I do not necessarily know them by blood, but then they are all humans. They feel the same pain that I do. They are just very unlucky to be where they are, and then that is the place they call home. Whatever the case, we might say evacuate them, but then what else will happen to them? Like, they will go to a country where they would be termed foreigners, quote unquote, and then we know what the disadvantages there are for people who are seeking asylum. We know the disadvantages there are for people who would seek support from other people. We know how injustice, how unjust other people could be to people who are trying to just find shelter. We know how difficult it would be for women and children. We know how difficult it would be. You just need to be a day without, let's say, food, to understand people in war, like to just try to relate, to just try to be really much compassionate and understand what they go through. I do not by any means try to say I understand the actualities that are going on in Ukraine, but I would just try to put myself in their shoe, and I really cry the tears, and then I really hope and pray that the world really would put all its efforts in this, because the world can. If the world really prioritizes peace, it really can, because there is so much to offer than to shed. Even like no one should even go through any pain, talk less of losing a life. I mean, that is the kind of I am so happy that we have this platform where we can talk properly and then express ourselves and then show love. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Channel. Thank you. That was beautifully delivered, and we felt it. All right. Thank you for the words you used and the way you expressed it, and bless you. We are together. We are united for Ukraine. Thank you. Judith, you've got the microphone.
Hello, beautiful UPG family. I love to hear these expressions of deep connection and compassion that everybody's talking about. It's very beautiful, and I really, it warms my heart, because I feel in a lot of pain about this situation. I've been digging into my own family's Ukrainian past, and I've actually found a couple of the towns where my family is from, which has been wonderful. But so I find myself in this really difficult conundrum, this really difficult sort of mind space where, of course, I love these expressions of compassion. But I do think that, what do we do if there is a person with an incredible amount of power who is hell-bent on exterminating an entire people. Do we let that happen because we don't want to arm the people to defend themselves? Do we let them be exterminated? In my mind, I don't think we can. That, to me, that is not promoting peace. I do think in certain situations, when you have someone who is power mad and hell-bent on genocide, then the only thing that they will understand is a show of resistance. I mean, we found this in World War II as well. We had to show resistance before the regime folded. Yeah. So it's a very deep and difficult human conundrum, I think, where we all crave peace. We all have so much compassion for our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, and we also cannot tolerate the notion of an entire people and country being exterminated. So what do? I think we support the resistance. So that's where I'm at. Thank
I
you.
love it. Thank you, Judith. Thank you so much. Oh, we'll take one more hand and then we move on. So, Alvita, you've got the microphone. Please tell us your name, where you're connecting from, and what's on your mind.
Hello, thank you so much. Hi, Yemi. Hi, Ben. And hi, everyone. Assalamualaikum. Good evening from here, from Indonesia. You can call me Dova, by the way. I'm from Indonesia. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you a heartwarming story. But before that, I send all love for my Ukrainian brothers and sisters. Well, I will tell a heartwarming story in my country. So a month ago, a total of 9 workers from Indonesia were successfully evacuated from Ukraine and safely returned to Indonesia. After long journey and also before 9 Indonesian migrant workers were finally evacuated from the Ukrainian city of Chernihiv, I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, which is about 150 kilometers northeast of the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. They just hide in the bunker, move to basement, even they eat potluck. And however, a few days after the Russian attack, about 50 Ukrainian soldiers withdrew from the battle line and hid in the bunker too. They carried tanks, combat equipment, and soldiers' corpses. And our workers faced a crisis of clean water, electricity, fuel oil, and had a complete breakdown of the communication. And they have, a number of evacuation scanners failed several times for our workers until finally a box car came to pick them up. And a few minutes after, they received a phone call from the embassy of the Republic of Indonesia in Kiev. Yeah, they returned back to Indonesia safely. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. We're happy that they are safe, and it harks back to something that Cherno was sharing about how to empathize. You just need a day, maybe even half a day, in their shoes without food or without safety to understand. So welcome again, everybody. For those who've just joined, as you know, you've joined our United for Ukraine event. And the flow of the event is we open the floor for people to share. That has just finished. So there's the initial sharing. At this point, we're going to go to our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, where they will share with us some of their own thoughts, perspectives. When they are done, we will open the floor again. So if you haven't spoken now, don't worry, the floor will be open again, and you can ask them questions directly, or you can share thoughts of your own. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. If there's anybody else you know who wants to be here, send them the link. All right. Now we transition, Sylvia. The floor will be open later, Sylvia, but now we transition.
Are we close?
Sylvia,
Yeah, are we close?
we will come back to you, Sylvia. I promise now we transition. Is that okay?
Okay, okay, it's fine, it's fine. It's cool, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
thank you so much. So, to our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, Danka, you have the floor. Where would you like to go first?
Yeah, actually, thank you everyone for coming. Today we have like a kind of special meeting. You remember who visited our previous class in meeting? In previous meeting, we talk about some Ukrainians organization who support Ukraine, about volunteers, NGOs, about journalism, and today we decided to invite them in order to they could directly tell how they are fighting for peace in Ukraine, for victory of Ukraine. Yeah, but before that, we as usually prepared some kind of newsletter. What happened during this week. So I think, Alexandra, we could start. Alexandra?
Excellent.
Yes, I'm trying to start.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have opportunity to share screen? Yeah.
And a special welcome to our guest speakers who are here today. We look forward to hearing from you. All right, Alexandra,
Yeah.
we're with you.
Thank you, Yemi. Thank you for everyone who come today. I'm really appreciate it. We feel your support, and thank you, Judith, for your words, for supportive words, and I really appreciate this. And if you remember, during last meeting, you heard air defense alarm from Danka's phone, and here how the map of air alarms looked like then. Almost all Ukraine was in danger, and the same thing happened during Easter weekend. As you may know, we had Easter weekend on this Sunday, and there were air defense alarms almost all over Ukraine. And on April 23, 8 people died and 20 people were injured due to the missiles attacks in Odessa. 4 people were injured due to shelling in Kharkiv. 1 person injured and 1 person died in Kharkiv Oblast. And on April 24, there were missiles attack in Poltavska Oblast and Kremenchuk. 7 person injured and 1 person died. On April 25, there were numerous shelling all over Ukraine. It started in the morning. 1 person injured and 5 person died in Vinnytska Oblast. The terrible situation still continues to be in Mariupol. The good news is that Mariupol still stands. I mean, Azovstal. But the bad news is that the satellite have located the 3rd mass grave of civilians near Mariupol. And here you see this picture. These are mass grave and trenches that are more than 200 meters long was appeared in the Stary Krym. It is a village which is 5 kilometers from the city, and some assume that about 9,000 people can be buried there in that mass graves. And what happened in Azovstal during this week? On the night of April 26th, there was 35 airplane attacks on Azovstal plant, and this led to the fire of the section of the plant. You may see it on this picture, and civilians were injured and they are under rubbles now. And here you see a screenshot from a video. This video was made in the basement of Azovstal, and we know that doctors they do some operations there, right in basement, and there are a lot of people there, and they are injured and they need help. And as you remember, last week one commander from Azov, he asked world leaders to organize a green corridor, and actually on April 26, a green corridor happened to be a trap, because Russian troops continued to shoot in the territory of the plant, and black smoke over the plant is a result of bombing. And you see this picture. It was made when during this green corridor. So Russians gave 10 minutes to everybody to come out from the Azovstal, and after 10 minutes they started to shoot. As you see, Azovstal still need help, and Mariupol still begging for help. And again, it's terrible numbers that I have to share with you. Sorry, there is a mistake. It's 270 children are killed now, and more than 350 children are wounded. And today I found this terrible information that I read the interview of Ukrainian ombudsman Lyudmila Denisova, which was published on April 26. And in this interview, she said that about 400 appeals about cases of rape by Russian occupiers have already been received. And victims are not only girls and women, it's also boys. In particular, it's 11-year-old boys, and also men. And there are two common features for these rapes. It's that rapists are young people, 20-25 years old, and they do it in public, in front of mother or in front of sister of the victim, and they do it in group. It's terrible information, but I think that you have to know it, and we have to share it for you to know the real face of this war. And this is, one more time, this is a proof that this is a genocide war in Ukraine. And on this slide, we tried to show that standing for Ukraine does not mean ignoring others, because often we hear that and what about Palestine, and what about Syria, what about Pakistan, what about Afghanistan, and many countries. And sometimes I feel helpless myself, because it feels like we don't have right to speak up because of other conflicts. But on this slide, we try to show that Russia play a huge role in ongoing wars, and the current war which is happening in Ukraine. And I want to remind that it started on 2014, and it is one of Russia's war. And I want to read words of our president, Volodymyr Zelensky. He said it at the UN Security Council. He said, "The chain of mass killings from Syria to Somalia, from Afghanistan to Yemen and Libya should have been stopped a long time ago, to be honest. If tyranny had ever received such a response to the war it had unleashed, that it would cease to exist and a fair peace would have been guaranteed after it. The world would have changed for sure. And I want to remind that since 2014, we Ukrainians mostly heard from the West that they are deeply concerned and they didn't get real help to start this war. And it leads to the things we have today. And I also would like to remind you how you can help us, how you can help Ukraine. On this slide, we collect all the necessary information, and I want to emphasize the Return Alive Foundation and the National Bank Account, special bank account to support armed forces of Ukraine. And we will send you the link to this presentation, and you will be able to see it, to share it, and to act. And I want to give the floor to Danka for her to present our guest speakers, which I'm really proud of that they are here. And please, Danka, the floor is yours.
Before I just remind, before we go to guest speakers, I just remind one point about of Support Ukraine. There is like one organization who support directly Azov Polk in Mariupol, about which Alexandra mentioned. So I just sent link in the chat, so you could go and if you want, of course, donate to somehow support Mariupol. About our guest speakers, we really appreciate that they joined us today. Today with us, today with us will be Христина Скороход. She is International Secretary of PLAST, and PLAST, I guess you know, like Scout movement. So PLAST is a kind of Ukrainian National Scout movement. It's like a non-profit voluntary organization. Also today with us is Yelizaveta Pidoprigoda, if I pronounce it correctly. Lisa or Yelizaveta is head of Kyiv Humanitarian Center, and it's actually a charity organization created at the first day of war, as I know. And mostly this organization support Ukrainian military. And also today with us will be Alexander Hrebet. It's Ukrainian journalist. He is international desk editor of ASEAN UA. Besides like telling about Ukrainian war, Alexander also cover the war in Syria, the Palestine-Israel conflict. Also, he focused on Middle East and North Africa, and as well as a post-Soviet area. So we will have like after the presentation of our speakers, we will have you will have actually opportunity to ask your question like directly for all, or you could like decide to whom it's better to concern. I think we after their presentation we could like use like 15 minutes for questions. So the floor for Christina. Christina will start.
Yeah. Can we just welcome them and maybe show them some UPG love, please? So welcome to all our speakers today. Thank you so much for being here. Your work is priceless, invaluable. You're literally on the front line of what we like to think of as humanity. So thank you. And you've made the time to be with us here today. So thank you very much. All right, you've got the floor. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you here. I'm Christina, and I am a part of National Scout Ukrainian organization PLUST. And today I'm going to tell you about the organization, its activities, and how together we can help Ukraine. And it doesn't matter whenever you are, and it's important for us to share it with you. And maybe the next slide. And I will tell you a little about the organization, how we work and what it is. So we are working for 110 years and we have nearly 11,200 members in Ukraine. And also we have some branches in other countries like Poland, Czech Republic, Finland, Austria, Australia, and others. And we have nearly 3,000 members there. And our main goal of organization is to develop the youth, to develop leadership skills, and to grow them and to promote the youth in accordance with scouting principles and ideas. And we have the programs for every age, so it doesn't matter if you are 6 years old, 30, 60, and so on. So it has inclusive programs. And all of the members in organization are working as volunteers. For example, I am working here like with children as a mentor, and I am working in administration sphere. And also, if you're a scout, it's essential and important for you to take like scout oath. And if you're taking it, you're telling that you will do everything in your power, like to help people, also to be like loyal to God and to Ukraine. And this means that it is very important for us to be a part of some changes in the world, to make some positive things, to help others. And it leads us to the next slide. That means that will tell us how we are working now. So we have 3 directions now during the time of the war. We are working like plus support headquarters to protect defenders. We are working with some requests to protect the people who are in the military, in the armed forces or territorial defense, like military clothes, walkie-talkies, also bulletproof vests, some medical supplies. Also, we are working like humanitarian help. We are providing it to the people in need, also to the children and people who are temporarily displaced abroad or in Ukraine. And we are providing them food, housing, and some of the essentials. And our main and last direction is working with children and youth. Usually we are having workshops with them or lessons, and we don't have possibility now to have them in all regions because it's not safe. So for some of them we have like online lessons, for some of them we have possibility like on the west part of Ukraine, like Lviv, to have offline lessons. And we are trying to develop the competencies like to give the first aid. Also, we work with them to support them morally and to adapt them to the new reality. And we also learn with them how we can help Ukraine and what everyone of us can do, even if you're little or you're adult. So we are learning how to do some social and charity events, and they can create their own projects during this time. And the next slide will tell you about the examples of few projects we have for now. And these projects were also created by the members of organizations. For example, the first image is energy bars we have. We are making them and cooking them. They are useful and they're giving a lot of energy and to the soldiers, and we are giving them and providing them. Also, we having some lessons with the children, with displaced people. For example, there was Easter in the last week. So we painted some Easter eggs because it's a tradition in Ukraine to do like this. On the third photo, you can see our reports of requests that we are buying usually. And also we are we're teaching children how to pack some first aid kits. And we have some warehouses where we sorting humanitarian help. And the next slide is the last one. In April, we had the birthday of organization, and we launched a big campaign, a big fundraiser campaign to take the money and donations to help the defenders and to protect them. And we have such initiatives and different projects. And if you're willing to help and have possibilities, please, you can check the QR code and find the more information of our organization on our social media links. And we will be happy to see you there because every help matters. And thank you for your attention and the little dialogue, international dialogue we had here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can we show her some love, please? Thank you so much. I believe the plan is to continue for the guest speakers to continue presenting.
Yeah,
If you have any
yeah.
questions
Actually,
for her,
yeah,
we can take them at the end.
We will have questions later after all
Good.
speakers. Actually, our next speaker will be Lisa, and actually, Lisa wanted to share her presentation. This one presentation. Maybe Alexa just stop and Lisa, could you share? Do you have opportunity? Okay.
Yep, of course. Thank you for this, because I made some animation on my presentation and now I need to be in charge of it. Sorry for that. But yeah. So actually, I just wanted to start from the thing that I'm super impressed by this event. I would never expected this to be like that, and people from all over the world, especially from the parts that are really far away from Ukraine, to talk about us. But I don't want to ask you to donate, because like maybe like everyone has their own financial situations, but what I want to really ask you just to listen to my story and just think how different your life can be if one day you just wake up with unpeaceful sky. So one day I woke up from the bombing sounds, and actually my life since that day changed forever, and I think I will never be the same that I was. And from that day, I understood that I have a desire to help. I have experience of leading NGOs and fundraising money, and I have a big network. So with my friends, we decided to create something that can help our armed forces to protect us, but also to solve the humanitarian crisis that started. So our organization didn't really start as a Kyiv humanitarian center, as fancy as it sounds. It actually started just as an initiative on the first days of the full invasion of Russia. And it started on the basis of the 3 other organizations, studying Students for Freedom, the Liberty Organization, Tactical Care. It's an organization that is really pro in medicine. And the Cosmos Tabir is the organization that is responsible for a lot of venues. So they helped us with the warehouse. And right now we have a team like more of 20 volunteers, and we are located in Kyiv. And I just wanted to focus your attention that moment that we were always in Kyiv, even where there was one of the hottest spots. And right now we are focusing on 3 type of helps. First is the armed forces of Ukraine, just because if we don't help them, we will be just killed. I will talk about that later. The second point is hospitals, because they help us to save lives, to win this war with less loss of people. And third is, of course, civilians, because we support a lot of humanitarian help, and we want to help people who are in crisis. And right now, we are helping more than 27 groups of different individuals. There's armed forces, hospitals. So they all send us their needs, and we try to find how to provide everything to them with supplies. So here I just wanted to show some videos how it all works in our center. So we have a warehouse, and we actually deliver everything by ourselves. And it's like a lot of medicine, a lot of things. And we all, I just like, trust me, we never knew like that we're gonna do this. So everything we do is just on the spot, and we try to prepare ourselves with learning things from the background, but it's not really possible when you do it so fast. And when you have this type of situations, you do everything really fast. And here I just wanted to show you some results of our current work. This was this thing that we already delivered, but it's only the smallest part. Like we have a whole report for 20 pages where we already delivered for this 2 months of the full invasion of Russia to Ukraine. And here you can see some pictures. And yeah, I feel like you can see in the bottom cats. These are our armed forces. We don't, we cannot show their faces from the protection point of view. So we put cats' faces, but they really are cats. They're really cute, and they really do amazing work. And because of them, I can say that I'm still alive, because if you remember this crisis that happened in Bucha, Bucha is 30 kilometers from the place where I live. And if armed forces didn't stop Russian soldiers on that place, I don't think I would be presenting this presentation to you right now. But talking about the good things, on the right corner, you can see my car. Like actually not my car, the car of my father, but with this car I was delivering all the things to our armed forces and hospitals all this time. Yeah, and this is just constant process. Right now my part of the team is in a warehouse, and they're packing the packages for all over Ukraine. And as the last thing, I just wanted to ask you to act and not ignore us. I mean Ukrainians and our war. I know you all have a lot of problems, and like this world still goes on, and we have a huge amount of problems. But just this is not just our fight. This is not our war. It's a war for democracy. And we have in our Kyiv Humanitarian Center really simple thing that you can really do. It's really easy. So if you follow this QR code, or I will just post the links in our chat. So we have a Google Drive with the posters on it. Some of them have my picture and a picture of other teammates where we tell our story and put the QR code where you can help. Or there's like posters in different languages that you can use, where it's written Save Ukraine, Stop War. And our main goal is actually, of course, to raise more funds to provide our forces and hospitals with the things they need. But they're always also about the raising awareness. So if you can just follow that link, print out that poster, and put it on the wall in a place you work, in a place you study, or where a place you live, whatever, in a place you like. I will be really grateful for you to this. It's not really hard, but you can really do that. And of course, send us pictures when you do that. It will make me super happy, and I will share it everywhere. And yeah, just share it with me. If you will not find your language in that Google Drive, just text us in Facebook, Instagram, any place. We will do the poster with your language. but we already did like 45 languages, but we are ready like to do more. Just share with us your language. We'll be happy to do it for you. So thank you so much for listening, and I thank you so much for being here and investing time in this. I do really appreciate this, and I already told all my team how inspired you are to help us, and they are all just shocked. So thank you so much. I stop sharing, and yeah, thank you.
I already see that Lynn just shared this link tree for Kyiv Humanitarian Center. Yes, so you could also check in chat. Yeah, our next speaker is, as we promised you, journalism editor of the NUA, and Alexander will tell more about him story, how it's work as journalism during the war. So Alexander, floor to you.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining, and thank you for having this event, let's say, online. And I see a lot of people all around, like with your faces are from the vulnerable areas of the world which can be really affected by this war, and I will explain you later why. I didn't prepare that answer, but I see this. So first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Alexander Hrebet. I'm 33. I'm international desk editor with ZN.ua. I'm also deputy chief editor of ZN Digital. It's like online version of our website. So I do mostly cover the wars, and right now is I've been to the 4 war zones. Like 2 of them were really far away from here. It was in Syria. It's UNDOF line Alpha and Bravo between Syria and the Israeli occupied Golan Heights, which is controlled by the Israel. Also I was reporting from Israel, from Palestine, on those issues and the conflict in there. But 2 other conflicts and the war zone I've been to was in the place where I was living in. The first time it started in 2014 in my home city, Donetsk. It's the major city in Donbass, east of Ukraine. And I fled this area, living there under the occupation couple months, a bit more than couple months, and I was the only one journalist who was doing the undercover reports from the captured governmental building. I was pretending myself I'm one of them, one of those people who were collaborating with the occupying power. And I spent there 5 days, almost get caught by the Russian forces, but fortunately I survived, and nothing happened to me. And I fled the area after a while. After that things, but I still was reporting on the region, on Donbass, east of Ukraine, where the war started in 2014. So almost like more than 8 years already. It started April 12th exactly in Donbass, 2014. So 8 years and 2 weeks. And when I found my second home in Kyiv, Ukraine, the capital city, I was waking up by my girlfriend in the morning of February 24th saying, hey, the full-scale war started. And I didn't believe it because I was sleeping firstly, but we heard the sounds of shellings and explosions, and we've been hearing it like for the rest of the time the Russian forces were around. The closest point to me, to the place where I am living, it's about like 7 kilometers. It's something like 4 miles away from me. If you have seen it, probably you did, the blown up bridge where the people were sheltering under. So if you cross that bridge and going towards Kiev, you just enter in my neighborhood because I live in the very outskirts of the capital. So this is the short, short about me and the covering the war. I work for the Anthem.ua. It's a prominent Ukrainian media award-winning. We started 1994 as the newspaper and the think tank because Ukraine was 3 years old at the time only, and the institution didn't have the money or the manpower for having such a things like think tanks. And so ZN.ua covered this branch and area to the people who does researches, investigations. So we gave the floor to any person who was like, firstly, independent, secondly, honest, and the journalism more just researcher, and huge like things happened in Ukrainian society for these 28 years. Like firstly was reported by the ZN.ua. And a lot of things like still ongoing and have the impact on today. And ZN.ua reported firstly just a couple weeks before the war started, this full-scale war started. This year, about that it was never a situation in the world when the big war was ongoing on the territory with 15 nuclear power plants, yeah? Not the power plants, 15 nuclear reactors, sorry. And now we see the consequences of the, not the consequences, but we see that the Russia firstly captured the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It wasn't operated, but still there are some storages for the fuel, nuclear fuel, and they captured and still having it, holding the positions over there in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. It's the biggest power plant in the world, in the Europe, sorry. So why this war is can affect not only Ukrainians and the Russians or the people who are living in this land here in Ukraine, because firstly, the vulnerable regions like the Middle East, like the Sahel in Africa, and around Sahara as well, and North Africa, because Ukraine is the 5th largest exporter of the wheat, or of the grains, like of the bread, let's say, yeah. And the Russia is the #1 exporter in the world. And because of the war, a lot of export chains stopped because Russia is blocking the Black Sea, the big sea we have right now. So they cut Ukraine right now out of Sea of Azov. It's a small sea in Ukraine and in Russia as well. And our biggest port city, which is Odessa, is still like free out of Russian soldiers and Russian troops, but the Russian Navy are circulating in the Black Sea, waters, and that's why the prices are rising in those areas I mentioned before, and people over there have to pay more for their food. And when the bread is essential things in the places like that, in the Middle East, in the North Africa, and in Sahel, so the people could struggle and have, if they spend more money on their foods for their bread, they can spend less money on education or on healthcare and on other things, essential things. And that means that this war can really affect the whole world. And especially the World Bank is predicting the much higher prices for the food in those regions, and not only in those regions. So it means these regions can burn as well, because maybe you remember, maybe not, that one of the reasons of the Arab Spring in 2011, 11 years ago, it was the food prices, the bread prices. And it started the outbreak of the people. So people went out of the streets and they tried to resist their oppressive governments and the theft governments. Yeah. So when we see all of those consequences today in Syria, with this Syrian war, which is still ongoing, the Libya as well, only Tunisia made it through the Arab Spring. Well, so Ukrainian people and Ukrainians see all of those messages from different parts of the world. That is, yes, everybody's speaking about Ukraine right now, and the people, I wouldn't say jealous, but something like this word, something around, but just they know the word in English. They are repeating, like, you didn't speak about Syria, you didn't speak about Yemen, you didn't speak about Afghanistan, like, but the whole world was speaking about Yemen, the whole world was speaking about Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, Georgia, Israel, Palestine, like everything, but not because of this scale, but like if we compare the losses in Ukraine, for example, I just don't want to compare it to death toll, really, but it's an essential thing because it's affecting, and I just mentioned before, only one aspect of that, only one. There are like plenty of those, which can like make your life personally, you guys, worse than you have right now, while Ukraine is fighting for own freedom and for own land. On the very beginning, somebody said that like we need a peace talk. Sure, every war is ending with a peace talk, every single one in the entire history. But there is one thing I need to mention: the Ukraine, and when the President Zelensky was elected in 2019, he was the first president really saying about that he cares more about the people on the occupied territories than the land itself. And he was proposing the personal meeting between him and Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, to make a peace deal. And every time, except the only single one meeting in the Normandy format, it was a 4-lateral group meeting between Russia, Ukraine, Germany, and France. It was in Paris only once, so they had a meeting, like face to face. I mean, all the other proposals from the Ukrainian side and from the our Western partners, it was rejected by the Russia, by the Kremlin, and by all the Kremlin men, including the top officials like President Putin itself and Foreign Minister Lavrov. So, and this is quite hard because they don't want to talk. If they would want to talk, they would talk, really. So, and Judith said this is the war for extermination, and I just need, this is like phrase circulating over here, but this is a really good wisdom, like for you to understand what is going on, like in a really nutshell. If the Russia will stop fighting, there will be no war in Ukraine. If Ukraine will stop fighting, there will be no Ukraine anymore. And you have to understand it because from our history. I will not go deep really into that because I'm like limited with its time. But for the last 300 years, Russia was starving people to death here 3 times, major times, sending our people to gulags, system of the labor camps, hard labor camps during the Soviet period. Russia was deporting Ukrainians from our land somewhere else, to the far east in Russia, to the north of Russia, to Siberia, anywhere but out of Ukraine. They were like killing our intelligentsia. They were killing like every person who was against the occupier and for Ukrainian culture, religion, language, and traditions. So other things, just how to cover, not how to cover, but is it hard to cover this war or not? Because I was asked to tell about that. The war is a thing you'd never get used to, really. Like, this is not the first war, as I said, for me. But every time I see a horrible thing, of course, there are some similarities between the war in Ukraine, for example, and the war in Syria. Not only because Russia is involved in both, but we know what to expect in here. And because of the Syrian experience, for example, when the Syrians were writing the kids or the children on their cars for the evacuees, on their hospitals, on their schools, Russia was bombing it. And when we saw these horrible footages, when the drama theater in Mariupol with the like a human size letters, children saying from the two sides of that, it was seen from this space. Russians still dropped the 1,500 kilogram bomb exactly on the rooftop of this drama theater. Around 400 people died over there. And not everybody was sheltering in the basement of that place. A lot of people, and especially mothers with the infants, were sheltering on the second floor, and they haven't survived. Really, unfortunately. But we see the things that Russians, they don't have doubts to do such a things, and we need to cover all of those atrocities they do, because it's raising awareness, it's alarming you guys or the other people in the world. Go on the street and protest that war. And when it's a kind of chain of the reactions. So when we report here about the atrocities Russia is doing, this is really hard to go through. I see the nightmares every night, 2 times. Like, I'm waking up every single night. Since, I don't know, maybe like 3 weeks, something like that. We report here, going this through ourselves. I mean, the journalists. Then the audience in the world see this. People are going to protest against the war. Their government, who is not really supportive for Ukraine, for example, see a lot of people protesting. And the government, because they think about the votes for the next election round, they are doing something because they see the support among their people for Ukraine. And I see some of you have the background with Ukrainian flag. This is like, that's exactly what you at least can do to help people who are suffering in here. Like the girls, they put the data on the killed children, for example. Yeah, but it's still to be confirmed, because we don't have the access to the huge part of the land, and we cannot count the loss of our people. And it's like all of us, the whole world will be shocked when we know when we know the actual death toll. And I was asked also to talk about how to win the informational war. As far as I can see, because I'm like a media watcher as well, I see the Ukraine is winning the informational war on the West. Because it's like easy, kind of. A lot of people in the West, they have access to the internet. Like not a lot, everyone has access to the internet. They see all of those things, and it's like it was enough to win that things. But there are some informational problems, let's say, like in huge parts of the Southeast Asia. In India, firstly, this is the biggest democracy, one of the biggest countries among the population, and they soon will be the first country with the population. And they are feeding by the Russian propaganda over there, really. Also, the Latin America and the south of Sahara. It's really Ukrainian journalists and the Ukrainian government needs to talk about that and do something about that. But it's really hard for them to focus on, to spread the message towards this, because not really much journalists are coming from those regions, and they have really big influence of the Russian propaganda, like the Sputnik or RT or whatever, you name it. But it's still would be easy to win the war because Ukraine speak with the language of truth. So Ukraine doesn't spread the fakes, doesn't spread the misinformation or the, how do you say it in English? Misleading things, yeah? Because it's, so that's why it's easy to win the informational war. And we do, every one of the journalists, like especially in my newsroom, we do a lot of debunking fakes of the Russia, spread it like everywhere. And as much as we do this, showing this is not true, the Russia is lying there and there and there, we have the more credibility to ourselves for the whole Ukraine, and every single horrifying footage from Ukraine is circulating on social media, Twitter, like Facebook or Instagram. I think like I'm too much, I was talking too much. I'm really sorry, really sorry. But so I would stop, and if you have a questions, I will really happy to answer all of them. Sorry.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank
Alexander.
you.
You can please show him love. And Alexander, you didn't talk too much. You did not talk too much, okay? You can see we were all paying attention. So thank you for everything you shared. Thank you for your courage. The experiences you've had are breathtaking. And thank you for the perspective you share. So family, unless you want to add something, Danka, I believe we can open the floor. Or do you want to add something at this time?
No, I just wanted to remind that we can open the floor, like questions for all speakers.
Yes.
Just like raise your hands, guys.
Thank you so much. So please, I invite you to please raise your hands. We don't always have this diversity of people here. So let's use it. The floor is open. Raise your hands. If you cannot speak, type in the chat. We'll take a look. Okay, but the first hand I can see now is Dr. Bamlak Kasahun. So you've got the microphone. Please unmute and say your name, where you're connecting from, and then please share your question or your thought. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity, Yami, and good evening, everyone. I was wondering some of the presentation which was presented by the three guests, and I was really feel sad by the thing which is happening in the Ukraine, and it's really heartbreaking thing is happening. So basically, I'm from Ethiopia. I'm Bamla Kasahun. I'm currently working on a Blue Vet initiative. And apparently we are facing the same trouble that, that the Ukrainians are facing in this time. Our country, Ethiopia, have facing some trouble regarding with the war in the northern part of Ethiopia. We have some conflicts regarding with the federal and regional governments. So hundreds and thousands of people are dying every day, and thousands of people are displaced from their place. So it's it's so parting. You know, I know really feel what a war seems like, because I always hear news right here, and I know how much it's very difficult. But I do have one question regarding with what Christina mentioned regarding with the humanitarian help. I know I try my best to watch some medias regarding with the reports happening on Ukraine. So how much the United Nations and others Ukrainian supporters are performing their best in supporting pupils who are displaced from their areas, and how much our progress are you appreciating at this time? Because we here in Ethiopia, we hear some news regarding this war happening in the Ukrainian, and I really feel sad every time by the thing which is happening by the Russian army over the Ukrainian government. So I really feel sad. So what are some of the humanitarian activities? I have not gained the detailed information from Christina. So would you like to repeat it again for me, please? And in parallel to that, I would like to tell you my condolence for Ukrainian citizens, which really having such kind of serious trouble. So I really pray for you guys. I'm sure the bright day will going to become, and this sorrow and this past situation is going to be solved. And we exist like as a human being, we always exist here because of hope, because we do have a hope, you know. Without hope, there is nothing which really we are going to be sustained here. So I really have a positive hope. At the end of the day, a brighter thing will become, and I know I'm going to see happy faces on Ukrainian citizens. This, what seems like. Thank you, Yami, again for giving me this opportunity.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bamlak. If I may summarize the question, you want to get a sense from Christina to what extent organizations like the UN and others are doing their best to help people who need it. So we'll give Christina the mic shortly, but let's take a few more questions. Okay, we got the question there. Sergio, so I think you've got the next
Sergio,
hand.
yes.
So
you
please.
pronounce the name correctly. Amazing. Hi, everyone. I'm Sergio. I'm from Albania, actually, UPG SL 2022. And actually, I didn't have a question. All I wanted to say is that I actually manage a hostel here in my city, and I am hosting some of the Ukrainians that are having problems. And I wanted to say that if there is any need, if there is anything I can do, of course, the home of Albanians are open anytime. We are the nation of Mother Teresa, so you're welcome, guys.
All right, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is beautiful. Thank you so much. Ben, another hand. Do you have a question that you want to share? Or was it more of a comment?
A short comment.
Go ahead.
Does anyone know the significance between the years 1979 and 1989 and what it entailed? Some will know it quite close to home. But essentially, it was the Soviet Afghan War, which if you know it, basically Russia decided that it wanted Afghanistan as part of its own, and so did what it's doing to Ukraine and decided, yep, we'll have you, and just thought they would take it over in a matter of weeks. Afghanistan notoriously has never lost its country because it's impossible to take over. And Russia fought for 10 years, lost all its money because everyone sanctioned it, lost half its army, all its tanks, all its helicopters. And at the end of the Afghan war, the USSR collapsed on itself. So just a reminder, if the Ukraine war goes on for 10 years, at the end of it, Russia is eventually going to run out of money, run out of people, run out of tanks. And
Ben, you froze.
So the fact is, Russia can keep it up as long as the world is fighting against them.
All right, thank you. That's an interesting perspective. Thank you, Ben. So why don't we turn that into a question? So we have the question from Dr. I think it was Bamlak, and Ben's comment. Why don't I make that a question? So our speakers, if you can react or respond to Ben's comment that the Russians will eventually run out of whether it's money or weapons. It's not, don't make it personal, just respond to the idea that Ben has shared. All right, so the floor is now open for our speakers to respond. Christina, I guess you go first, but then Yelizaveta and then Alexander, you got the mic after that. So Christina, please go ahead.
Okay, I will answer the question about humanitarian help that was asked. So our organization is working with some NGOs and the initiatives of the citizens of other countries. For example, they are gathering some clothes, some food, some medical supplies, and then they are asking us to go through the border and then to put it and to deliver to the places, to the people who need them. And we are working with governmental requests. And there is another part and another work of international organizations like United Nations and so on. And they're working separately. And I know that International Organization of Migrations, they are working with refugees and temporarily displaced people in Ukraine the most. And that's all.
All right, thank you. Christina, I know this is not a very diplomatic follow-up question, but if you had to give them a score on a scale of 0 to 10, I suspect this is where Doctor was getting at. How well are they doing in terms of what they can do?
Like the United Nations or whom exactly?
United Nations, we can go there, and organizations of similar stature.
I think that everyone is trying to help, so it's hard to measure it. But I know that we are trying to get response, for example, from the Agency of United Nations that works for women, because they haven't posted yet anything about supporting Ukraine. And for example, women who also were raped in Ukraine because of the war and they also need help, or women and families who also suffered because they came away and they ran and left their homes without nothing. But there are organizations, national organizations and international, that work and help a lot.
Just have to show you some love, because that was a diplomatic response to an undiplomatic question, and she handled it so well. So thank you very much, Christina. Wonderfully done. So I believe Yelizaveta, your hand was up at some point. Did you want to comment? And then Alexander, if you wanted to comment. I'm just going to the ladies first, Alexander. Even in times of war, we have basic human decency, right? So ladies first, please.
I'm gonna give my floor to Alexander. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alexander.
I would like to comment on the Ben's
Please.
talks about the Afghanistan and the collapsing of the Soviet Union. This war was held, so the 9 years in a war in Afghanistan, Soviet Afghan War. I mean. In Russia, the Soviet Union lost half of its human soldiers, let's say, yeah, and the equipment, the armored vehicles, in the tanks, helicopters, and the planes. But within 63 days, because in Ukraine we do count like every single day here, we don't say 2 months or 5 weeks or 8 weeks, something. We say day by day, every day. For these 2 days, according to the data from the General Staff of Ukraine, surely Russia will not accept those numbers. But anyways, Russia lost only with the killed in action soldiers. It's 10% of the Russian troops or going to attack Ukraine. It's a bit like 15 maybe percent, yeah. But with the wounded soldiers, Russia lost 10% of the entire Russian army, which is almost 1 million people.
Wow.
It lost like half of the planes they have in total. They lost like, oh, sorry, not planes, tanks.
Yeah.
About like 10 to 15 percent. Some estimates is up to 20% of the planes. We just don't know the actual amount of the number of the planes in the Russian Air Forces. And the answering ban, the war in Ukraine doesn't need to help for the 10 years. Firstly, it's ongoing for the 8 years already, but the full scale, I think you were mentioning this full scale war. So 2 months is already, first thing, Russia is not a Soviet Union, which was much bigger and much powerful and much respected, with a better equipment on that time, because still today Russia is using the Soviet equipment or even the Soviet electronics on their missiles, like long-range missiles. I mean, not even small one, which could be okay, yeah, to use a rocket for the grenade launcher or something, but they use for the highly technology, the things, this electronics from the 70s. Just before the Soviet Afghan War started in 1979. So the Russia has much more money than the Soviet Union had. The Russia had much stronger sanctions on it than the Soviet Union had. Soviet Union hasn't threatened the world so often with the nukes than Russia does today within the last few weeks. And this is a sign they are losing much more. But I would agree with you, Ben, that Russia sooner or later will collapse, because it's quite hard for that regime, which is built on the corruption, which is built on the fear, to stick together all of those regions, and so diverse regions, completely different sometimes. When the point of power in the Kremlin or anywhere in the bunker right now will stop operating. So when the Russia is ahead of the really turbulent years, and if some of you are the journalists, please be focused on that, because even if you don't, please start, because it's going to be so interesting to have to see all of those things which can happen. And sooner or later, be sure Ukraine will help Russia, or not the Russian regions, to stand up against the central power, like we did during the first and the second Chechen wars, for example.
Interesting.
Or like yeah. So I almost agree with you, Ben, that then Russia will call, but we don't need the 10 years for that. This is too much in the so fast world which we have right now.
All right, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for still being here. I'm going to try and bring us home in the next 20 or so minutes, but I see more hands. So let's take these hands, okay? So don't go anywhere. There's more exchanges to be had. Agala, and then Judith, then Kofi, then Moses. If you ask your question concise, you can get more answers. So Agala, please unmute and let's hear you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this session. I am from Azerbaijan, and whole population's heart is beating with Ukraine these days. And when I went through the drive link you shared with us in the chat, and I noticed that there is no other poster with Azerbaijani language, and that's why I offered that I can write stop the war in Azerbaijan and also in Turkish language.
Excellent. Are you volunteering to translate? Yes?
Yep.
Awesome. I believe that offer is accepted. Who's going to follow up with Agala?
I sent you my email in the chat so you can send
Awesome.
me the translation. Thank you.
All right, Agala, thank you for moving to action. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank you. Judith, you've got the microphone.
Thank you very much. I just have a couple of quick but big questions for Alexander. One is, I'm just wondering how journalists are doing your work. Are journalists embedding with Ukrainian soldiers? Are you depending on citizen journalism? That's one. And the second thing is, and we haven't yet talked about this in any great depth in these sessions, but I feel that it's an elephant in the room that I would love to hear the Ukrainians' perspective on, and that is the nuclear threat. So those are my questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your question, Judith's questions. Firstly, it depends on the story. So if the story is about the military guys or the territorial defense unit, so you are embedded with the unit. If it's like stories about the civilians or like the features about like something like connected with the war but disconnected from the soldiers, so you talk and you meet with the civilians, go into their homes or the destroyed area where they lived before, or you just Skype with them if they fled, for example, like fled the country and became refugees, fled to Poland, Germany, Sweden, anywhere. And the second, and answering your second questions about the nuclear threats, this is really hard to answer because nobody knows what is happening in the Putin's head. Yeah. And as we see, he's completely out of reality, and he could use that thing. And they tested a week ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe 10 days, the intercontinental ballistic missile, the Sarmat, which is the son of the Satan, the Soviet nuke. It's a missile capable of holding the nukes on it. And the NATO was calling the previous version of that the Satan. Now it's Satan 2 or the son of the Satan. Yeah. And this is exactly the threat to not to Ukraine, because it's an intercontinental ballistic missile, and it's so close to Ukraine to hit Ukraine with this kind of weapon. But they have a tactical nuclear weapons, which is much smaller, and sometimes there are but unconfirmed reports that this Saudi Arabia was using such a thing in Yemen, if I'm not mistaken, 2017, but it's not confirmed. Yeah, let's say. But I saw the footage. It was horrible from Yemen. So the Russia can use such a thing like a tactical nuclear weapon. It's much smaller with the damage, much smaller with the area of the damage, much smaller with the how do you say, the radiation level on it, so you can survive it really easily if you, especially under the ground, and you need to spend there at least 3 days. So prepare for 3 days in the shelter is pretty enough. And because the dust of the explosion will hit the bottom, the land really quickly. So that's why it's much easier, and we are like really optimistic in that. But of course, they can use the real nukes against Ukraine. But if this will mean ban to you also, that Russia will collapse the next, I don't know, month after, if they use nukes on Ukraine, and they will probably hit the Kiev to kill the leadership. But I want to be sure, and I'm assuring myself that our partners from the West will prevent such a thing, because they are watching the moving of the nukes power in Russia right now.
Wow. Thank you for the question, Judith, and thank you for allowing us to see a bit of how people are thinking about these questions. So thank you, Alexander. I want to take Kofi and Moses at the same time. So if you can, Kofi, if you can go first, please, your name, where you are, and your question.
Thank you very much. Banzia Kofi Joseph from Ghana. I'm actually traveling, I'm in a car and there is noise. So I would like to put my question in the chat so that you can read it to them. I hope that is allowed.
That is allowed. Please proceed. Thank you. Moses, your name, where you're connecting from, and your question.
Well, thank you very much, Yemi. My name is Moses Gishuho, and I am connecting from Kenya, the capital, Nairobi, to be specific. To my Ukrainian brothers, I know that today is your day to speak, but be thou as it may, I would want to just put across my observations in a few seconds. You know, Yelisveta, Christina, Alexander, as I listen to you, it's a mix of emotions for me. You know, on the one side, I am sad for the loss of lives and the livelihoods. But on the other hand, I am elated to see young people, young men and women on the forefront to protect their motherland. Your actions has been or has provided a period of reflection for me. And I have been reflecting on this issue of patriotism. And in so many ways, you act as a mirror of what humanity is all about, what we are about as human beings. You are the epitome of hope. You are the frontline patriots against the propagators of hate. And I just want you guys to know, as you go through this, that we feel your pain. But more importantly, for us who are joining this United for Ukraine webinar, I pray, and this is my desire, that when our turn comes, and it will come in one way or the other, that we shall be ready, just as you have demonstrated, to hold high the banner of freedom. Thank you very much. I pray for you. I salute you, and I fully support you. God bless you, and keep going. Thank you, Yemi.
All right, thank you very much, Moses. Thank you. I'm going to allow you guys to respond to that. But now I want to read out some questions in the chat before you respond. One of them is from Debbie, and Debbie apologizes. She says, I have a simplistic question or a concern, but with all the shelling going on, where do you guys get food? Are you well fed right now? So that's a question from Debbie. If you can shine a light on that. Thank you, Debbie. Now, Kofi's put his question in the chat. Kofi's asking, what I know is that Ukraine is a sovereign state. Why would Russia want to own parts of its territory? Is there some bilateral territorial agreement between these two countries that the world is not aware of? There's a lot of information out there as to why this war is ongoing. As a journalist, there is the need to always fact check for accuracy. I'm a journalist from Ghana. So that's from Kofi. Is there some kind of territorial agreement between Ukraine and Russia that the world is not aware of? All right, so thank you. Let me pause here. Yeah. Go on, please, Alexander or
Ghanaian friend. As the Ghana was the first country, Southern Sahara, having its independence from the empires. Ukraine regained independence in 1991, like 30 years after Ghana did, from the occupying power, from the empire, which was like doing exactly the same things. What was the British were doing to the Ghana people. But beside of they haven't sent us overseas, they have sent us to much worse place, like in the north, in Siberia, in the Far East, for the hard labor thing. This is the same struggle from the Ghana people and from the Ukrainian people to have the own right for our homeland, the right for our freedom of choice, freedom of expression, language, culture, religion, whatever you name it. And this is what they want to take from us. Still today, the 30 years after we regained our independence.
Great, thank you. Any comments on the other questions? So either from Yelizaveta, Christina, or Danka, or Alexandra, you want to comment on any of the other questions? What about food? Those who are outside Ukraine, we know how you get fed. But those who are in Ukraine, how is it safe for them to get food? How is that working?
Yemi, I can answer this question, but only for myself. Well, not only for myself. In Ukraine, we have many villages, and every Ukrainian is a real Ukrainian if he grows some potatoes, so tomato. So we have villages, and there we have food. And also, I believe that we have support. While I was in the west of Ukraine, actually we get humanitarian aid from Italy, and from Italy food came to Ukraine. But villages are the best.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. Did I miss out a question? Did we answer Kofi's question? Okay, good.
Sorry. Could I add? I just tried to translate it in English. Yeah, actually about food, I know the story of my friend, who lived in occupied territory, and he said that some kind of not Russian troops, but sometimes in media, Russia want to show that they help Ukraine, some kind of that, and that's why they show this propaganda video material when they spread food for Ukrainians. And actually, the point is that they do it just to show that they wanted to help. Like people who are killing us wanted to help buy food for us. Interesting. And the thing is that Ukrainians don't accept this some kind of humanitarian help. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, but and one moment, sorry, I just remember. And another thing is that even Russian troops, they don't have enough food for like stay, so they are looting our supermarkets and some kind of that. Yeah, Alexander also wanted to add something, I guess.
Thank you, Danka. Did you want to come in here? Okay.
The food supplies is really different in the different areas of Ukraine. Firstly, when the war started in Kiev, for example, where I'm living, yeah, it was the big queues for the food, yeah, and the supermarket shelves was kind of empty for the first week only. Later, it was resupplied in much better situation with the food and water in the supermarkets, for example, or in the marketplaces. But there are a completely different situation in the occupied territories, as Danka said, mentioned before. So some of the areas, they are out of food, running water, even the fresh water. So the people are drinking the rain, people are drinking the rivers, people are drinking the what they can drink, the thing, yeah. And they eat what they can, like what they find, what they hunt, for example, yeah. They eat it, but it's really sometimes, especially in Mariupol, it's like extremely dangerous to go outside. And if you go outside, you just hit with the shrapnel of the missile strike or the shelling. So, and it's really different, really. And a lot of places, and especially in south and east of Ukraine, just right now while we are talking, all of us guys, people are struggling for the food and for the water.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I have two questions. Mariam, I'll come to you next. But I have two questions, one for Alexander, and the other one any of you can answer. So the first question for Alexander is that as a journalist, how satisfied are you with the media coverage in the West? How satisfied are you? And what would you like to see more of, if there's anything you would like to see more of? So I'm talking about CNN, BBC, the mainstream one. So that's the question for Alexander. My next question, which any of you can answer, is what are some of the ideas within Ukraine for how this war might end? What are some of the things people are saying within Ukraine? Scenarios. It doesn't have to be credible, logical, as long as enough people are saying it. If you can share it with us, we'd love to hear it. Okay. So the first question was for Alexander about, as a journalist, how satisfied are you with media coverage? What would you change? What would you love to see more of or less of? And the second one is for everybody.
This is the great question. I was asked the same question 3 weeks ago by the Texas Technical University from the United States. The professor asked me the same question, and I said that time that I'm not really happy because of the coverage That time, for example, the CNN, like BBC and so on, the mainstream media, they were reporting on the only atrocities, only. They weren't talking about the future, which is really crucial part. Today, I will answer you, Yami, that I'm satisfied because the mainstream media with their huge audience, they are talking about the future. And the life wins here in Ukraine. Now I'm happy to see reports about the plans of the restoration of the Ukrainian cities, regions, and so on, the proposals about to do. What about the economy? What about the small businesses in here? What about the occupied territories? What about everything? And this is much because it's needed to see the perspective. Only showing atrocities, meaning that the people will lose hope. And we here in Ukraine, we say the hope dies the last. So we don't want our hope and the hope of the whole world who is supporting us to die. That's why I'm really happy that mainstream media are reporting on the future of Ukraine and the bright future, I mean. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And then the second question was open. So Danka, Alexandra, Christina, Yelizaveta, any one of you, what are some of the comments you're hearing from within Ukraine for how this war might end? Again, it doesn't have to be logical, doesn't have to be realistic, just that enough people are saying it.
I can say that everyone is believing that we will have independent country and that it is important to have the victory because we want to grow, we want to develop, and we have independence from 1991. And no one wants to live in Russia because it's fighting and it's making wars in other countries, and it's not okay to invade and kill other people. And but it's hard, for example, for people who are in occupation for a long time to think about sovereignty or other countries and so on, because they are exhausted, they don't have food and so on, but they are standing because it's important to stand for the values of the freedom, of the values of people's lives and so on.
All right, thank you so much. Anybody else? Thank you so much. Danka, go ahead.
Actually, I don't know how to explain. Concerning your question, Yemi, I think after this war, after our Ukrainian victory, like we as a nation become like as a nation and also like a country, we become more stronger, because it was for me at the first day of war. I just start thinking what would happen with Ukrainians after the war. Not only about what happened with our territory, how this war changed us, like personally. And I think we will do everything to Ukrainians' prosperity, because it's like my personal perspective. But before the war, we have like also some like problems in our country. For example, corruption and etc. Some challenges with some education, for example, issues with this Ukrainians understand me, bad roads and something like that. I think it's because people don't like take the Ukrainians don't take the not all Ukrainians take the responsibility for this. And I think after that, after this war, we will like do everything to fight not only like some global problems, but also this local issue in order to make our country stronger. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Danka. Elizabeth, I saw your hand. Did you want to comment on this?
Yes, just
Please
a
go
short,
ahead.
a short thing. Thank you, Yami. Yeah, I just really need to leave right now, but I just really wanted to say like last words and also answer on your question. So the really feeling that every Ukrainian has right now, we all thinking about the victory, but we all know it's not going to be soon. So we all know that there's a huge road to go there. But what was really important for me to say to you, so usually on such type of events, I'm really active. I like to have a conversations to discuss something. But today I felt like I don't really have enough energy and maybe emotional stability to talk about this while it still goes on. It's like when you talk about your trauma when you're still ill. So I'm sorry if I was not really open today, and I just really hope the war will end soon and we all will have the opportunity to talk in the more peaceful circumstances. So thank you so much, guys.
I hope you can see that we're sending you love. Can you see the screen?
I see. That's
All
really
right.
cute, and I just really thank you
The
so
most
much. But
the most important thing is that you were here. Okay, so please don't go away feeling like I didn't say enough, I didn't do enough. Don't do that. You were here. That's what matters. And we're not going anywhere. So when you feel like you've got your energy back, just come back. Okay? There's no stress whatsoever, but we remember that you came. So thank you so much. We have to try to close so everybody can go. I promised to come to Mariami before we close, but Alexandra, then Mariami, and then hopefully we can close.
Yeah, thank you, Yemi, for this opportunity. Yelizaveta's words touched me because it's so true for all Ukrainians, I believe. And for me, it's true. The end of this war is victory, is our victory, Ukraine's victory, in sovereign borders of 1991. And I, as a researcher, again, I can tell that Ukrainians have hundreds and hundreds history of being oppressed, and many of Ukrainians, as they were a colony, lived in colony, we have a historical memory, and many Ukrainians suppose that the state have to decide what they have to do. And finally, I think that Orange Revolution in 2008, Revolution of Dignity in 2014, and this war that lasts for more than 8 years finally will teach every Ukrainian that we are responsible for our country, and every Ukrainian have power to change everything he or she can change. We are the power. Finally, I didn't want that war was needed to realize it, but I believe that finally every Ukrainian realized it. And with this powerful people, we can build a prosperity for Ukraine. And we can use all the support from the whole world in a smart way and to be truly big and great country.
Super powerful. Thank you. I think your words have touched many of us, and we're going to reflect on it. Thank you so much. And they build on very nicely on the things that Danka also said in terms of how the war will change the country. So thank you. Mariami, thank you for being so patient. You've got the microphone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the possibility to ask the question. And thank you for all the presentators for the amazing presentations. And I had two questions, and the first one was about also what is also asked already. It's about the media in West, and thank you for the question and thank you for the answer. And the second question is about that. I saw these newses, and I have seen now also that on Easter the children were died on Easter also, and yeah, these crimes are continuing, and it's very difficult to see these crimes, to fight, and also at the same time to collect some facts, interviews, and other victims to write the cases against Russia. And as we know, after September of 2022, Russia won't be the part of the Council of Europe, so it won't be part of the European Convention of Human Rights. So it means that we will not be able to take a complaint against Russia. So no more cases against Russia. It's so sorry that, for example, the court was and is one of the effective possibility to protect our civilians' rights, and also to protect their rights and get the compensation for these crimes. But after this pact, what do you think? How we can, because it's also my problem and problem for my country also. What can we do now after this situation? How can we deal with this problem? And do you see any solution of this problem? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mariani. And your country is?
Yeah, Georgia. I'm from
I
Georgia.
thought so, but I didn't want to make any assumptions, but better coming from you. Thank you. All right. Who wants to respond? I know, Alexander, you can feel everybody's eyes on you, but the floor is open. Who wants to respond? Nobody? Mariami, maybe you should come again and ask that question. My brief response to that is that this entire war exposes the inadequacy of our global institutions. If somebody commits a war crime, it shouldn't matter that in September they are no longer a signatory to A or B. That's irrelevant. If they commit a war crime, there is no time limitation. We should be able to get justice. And if we cannot do that on the international stage, this is an exposure of the inadequacies of what we have. Just as you say, we are hopeful Ukraine will be stronger, we must also be hopeful that the international frameworks and institutions will be stronger. Because right now they are not strong enough. The fact that this basic thing is a question is not strong enough. I know if you've ever watched those movies about 20s or 30s or 50s in America, where a criminal would cross the state border, and because of the laws at the time, the state police couldn't follow them. So the criminal would cross the state border in the US, turn around, laugh at the police and wave at them because the police can't cross the border. Obviously, that wasn't sustainable. But we're in a similar situation on the international stage today. And that is awful. So thank you for your question. I know it's not the best answer, but I hope it shows that we need an answer. Judith, thank you so much. You're free. I'm bringing this to a close. So the only thing I want to ask is whether someone like Danka or Alexandra, if there's anything you're burning to say. If not, we go to the Ukrainian national anthem and then we close. Alexandra, you got the mic.
I wanted to say something so much that I couldn't find this button. Finally, finally, I see the evidence that we are not those 5 mad Ukrainian girls that are loud and shouting to everyone that, oh, please help us. You see, we are not alone. I see the support. If you attended all 7 events, then you heard that almost everything that today our speakers said, somehow we already told that. And as for me, it was a huge sign that we do the right thing. And I really admire our today's speakers. I appreciate that you have time to come to your speeches. It was so powerful and so valuable to us. And I'm so proud of my team, Ukrainian team from UPG family, that we were able to find those speakers and to invite them. So today I'm really happy as much as it possible. And I feel that we did something for our victory, one more step. We are one more step closer to our victory. And thank you, Yemi. Thank you once and once more that you give us this opportunity to speak and to spread the truth, because spreading the truth, the one who spread the truth, it is much harder for that people to fight, because they have only truth. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Danka, and then the Ukrainian national anthem. Danka, you got the mic.
Yeah, thank you. I have just short comment. I really appreciate that you all come here, and especially for our guest speakers, because it seems for me that our previous meeting was a little bit boring. People are leaving sometimes session. Yeah, but Judith, I know you don't leave it. It just seems so. Yeah, but I really appreciate that you come. And guys, if you have any ideas about what you want to listen in the next session, about what kind of speakers you want to listen, just I just wanted write me or Alexandra or some of us, or just I guess Yemi or Ban will share the link to forum United for Ukraine. If you have any ideas, you could write it, and we will try to find the speakers in order to make it more informational.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. So, as Danka requested, I've put in the Zoom chat a link to the forum where you can see what everybody's saying on this topic. And if you had any thoughts, ideas, questions, post it there. I want to say big thank you to our speakers. All right. Special thanks for taking time out of your schedule to be here. We're sending you love. I hope you felt it was appreciated. You're welcome back anytime as a speaker or just to be here. All right. For everybody who was here, thank you. The speakers came and they felt special because you were here. Right. So thank you so much for being here. Your presence really matters. As Chantel said, it wasn't boring. We were focused. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Please, let's continue to be united for Ukraine. Post on social media. We mustn't let this die down. We can't show that anybody's tired. Use hashtag United for Ukraine. If you have the right words, use hashtag Enforce the Peace. I'd like us to please listen to the Ukrainian national anthem. You can stand with me, with us if you want to, or you honor the anthem in your own way. Right? Thank you.
Ні слава, ні воля, ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як як роса на сонці запанує, і ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. Meeting is officially at a close. So we'll just play a song to see us off, but you can't go. Please remember to RSVP for next time. And please invite other good people to join us. Okay?
Bye, everybody.
For sure.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lots
Sending
of
love.
hugs, guys.
Thank you, Alexander.
Good night.
Thank you.
Chantel.
Thank you,
Is it good night?
everyone.
Thank you, Presto.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you
Night,
next time.
guys.
Bye.
Next time,
See
sleep
you.
well. Thank you, Usman. Thank you, Colonel. Bruna.
Thank you.
So good to see you. Always good to see you.
Bruna, did you change your hair color?
Oh, Bruna! Oh, I miss you, Bruna.
Danke. Thank you. Danke, bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Yemi, thank you a lot, and thank you for your support. It's truly important for us.
Thank you. Thank you, like I always say, for the way you use the space. It really is inspiring. If this was my country invaded, I'm not sure I would be as objective as you always working to be. It's incredible.
I hope your country would never be invaded.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We don't have to check what would be your what would you do. We don't have to check.
But thank you. Thank you. So please be safe. We'll see everybody next time. We'll continue to pray for Ukraine. We'll continue to post on social media. And we'll continue to invite more people to join us. All right? We'll do our little part. We're just ordinary people.
Yeah. I think I will connect with Bochi, connected in order to make more spread information.
Yeah, and I think that, who's that? Kofi says he wants to come to Ukraine after the war. I think there are many people who want to come to Ukraine after the war, me included.
Ukraine is truly beautiful country.
I have no doubt.
I believe that nobody is able to change that.
I have no doubt. All right, God bless you all. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, wherever you are. Thank you. Bye.